Hello students, welcome to this agriculture lesson. I am Mr.Timon Athoo. In our previous lesson, we were able to learn about supply and the factors that affect supply as well as elasticity of supply. In this lesson, we are going to look at price. Now, price is a product of supply and demand, which we have already looked at. But generally, by definition, price refers to the amount of money paid for goods bought or services rendered. Yes. How much is a loaf of bread? 400 grams would be 50 shillings. Okay? You pay that for that particular good paid. So price is the amount of money paid for goods bought or even services that are rendered. And as I've already mentioned, price is affected by demand and supply and the quality of goods and services. Quality, because there are some, the higher the quality of a good, the higher its price. That is quite natural and very easy to understand. Otherwise, we shall be able to understand or demonstrate how demand and supply affect price. Now, when the quantity demanded, that means the amount of goods that buyers are willing to buy in a particular market is equal to the quantity supplied. That means the total amount of goods supplied in a particular market or offered for sale. Then the price at that point is the equilibrium price, or what we call market price. And that quantity at that point is called the equilibrium quantity. Let's look at a graphical illustration of the same. When we plot price against quantity, price being on the y-axis and quantity of goods on the x-axis, we come up with this curve sloping towards the right, which is the demand curve. The demand curve sloping to the right. And then you plot supply, the supply curve is the one that usually slopes to the left. Why? Because when the price is low, more buyers are willing to buy. Larger quantity will be bought, but sellers are willing to sell less. That's why the curve is like that. And when the price is very high, then the buyers are likely to buy less. That's why it is at that point. But at that same high price, sellers are likely to supply more. They are willing to supply more because the price is high and favorable to them. So when plotted together, that means when the natural forces of demand and supply are left to operate and work in a given market situation, there is a point that will be reached whereby we have the two curves intersecting, and where they intersect, the price at that point is what we are calling the equilibrium price, the one I've indicated there as EP, the equilibrium price or the market price, and mutually agreed price in the market. Buyers are willing to buy at that particular price, by that particular quantity, and sellers are also willing to sell that particular quantity at that particular price. When there is that agreement, we get that point we are calling the equilibrium price, and the quantity at that point is called the equilibrium quantity. And this situation can only exist in a free market. With this graphical representation, I would wish students that we understand the balancing acts in this particular market, because when the price is high, there are more buyers willing to buy, but less sellers willing to sell. So what is likely to happen when the price of a given commodity is at that level? Less goods are likely to be brought to the market, although the demand will be very high. So at that particular time, the sellers must be willing to sell at a lower price. The buyers must also be willing to buy lesser quantities, and that is why the curves, when they are drawn, they must find somewhere to intersect an agreeable price. A price that is agreeable to both the sellers and the buyers. That is the point of intersection we are calling the equilibrium price or equilibrium quantity, and that kind of situation exists only in a free market, or what we call a competitive market, where forces of demand and supply determine the price. It's possible that you can draw curves such that they intersect at higher levels. If we use the same graph, you can have another demand curve at that point and maybe supply curve at that point, and therefore the equilibrium price will be at that point, while the equilibrium quantity will also be read from there. So it will all depend on the good and the prices that it attracts. Having said that, what is the role of price in a given market? Price guides and regulates production, because when the price is high, most sellers are willing to produce and offer for sale particular products. Okay, so when the price is high, there is a higher production encouraged. But when the prices are low, sellers will be willing to supply less, and therefore they will produce less because they are not motivated, they are discouraged. Number two, it guides and regulates consumption. That is from the buyer's point of view. When the price is too high, the price of a particular product, if it is too high, then it is prohibitive for the consumers or for the buyers. If the price per kilo of meat is, let's say, 500 shillings, that is too high maybe for a common mwananchi, and therefore will consume less. So price is going to guide and regulate consumption. If the price is low, then somebody is more able to afford and therefore will buy more. And three, it also guides and regulates distribution, because we appreciate the fact that prices are different in given markets. In market A, the price may be higher than in market B, and therefore more goods are likely to be supplied to market A where the prices are high than in market B where the prices are low. Now, what is the role of the government in controlling price? The government is concerned about prices at times and has a role to play, probably in four simple ways, but in many other ways, but we shall cover four. One is by fixing the maximum and the minimum prices of commodities to avoid exploitation of buyers and sellers. If sellers are allowed to sell even at the very highest prices because probably of monopolistic market situations, then the buyers are exploited. If the prices are too low because it favors the buyers, then again the sellers will be discouraged. So to avoid exploitation of both buyers and sellers, the government sometimes may fix minimum and maximum prices, though nowadays it's not very common except for some goods like fuel. Number two, the government gives subsidies and therefore helps to reduce the prices and even the cost of production. That makes most of these goods quite affordable. Three is by fixing prices of related products. Product A and B, if they are related and the government is not willing to control the price of B, it may control A and in such a manner help to control the price of B indirectly. And four is through taxation. Now taxation, when there is a tax levy, maybe a higher tax levy to a particular good, then its price becomes higher, and that reduces the quantity that will be supplied or even bought in a particular market. And when the taxation is reduced or removed altogether, the good becomes more affordable. Why should the government control price? Quickly, for three reasons. One, to protect the buyers and sellers. We've already learned about that in the previous lesson. If the price is too high, then the buyers will be disadvantaged. If the prices are too low, then the sellers will be disadvantaged and may not be willing to produce. Two, to check on and even to prevent inflation. That's about the economy of a country, the value of money. If prices are unchecked, then the value of money is also going to be lost, kind of. And three is to encourage production. For example, if the price per ton of sugarcane is set by the government and is increased at a higher level, then sugarcane farmers are likely to be encouraged to produce more and more. And with that, we come to the end of this lesson. We wish that in the next lessons, we are going to look at the various marketing agents and institutions, cooperative societies, and such like things. Thank you very much. See you next time.